Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Ryanico's World. It is Thursday, August 6th. It's my brother's birthday, so I'm going to wish him happy birthday. Happy birthday. I love you, I love you, I love you, and you can do it. You can do it, eh? You can do it. So welcome to another episode. I think it's the 11th episode right now, and I'm pretty excited because I'm getting better and better with the microphone and just getting, I guess, the feel of everything and the hang of everything, and it's pretty cool. So we'll see. Hopefully this microphone is a little better positioned today and try to see how it works, see how everything's going. So let's say a wonderful prayer. In the name of Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen. From the Catholic prayer book, morning prayers. Most holy and adorable Trinity, one God in three persons, I praise you and give you thanks for all the favors you have bestowed upon me. Your goodness has preserved me until now. I offer you my whole being, and in particular all my thoughts and words and deeds, together with all the trials I may undergo today. Give them your blessing. May your divine love animate them, and may they serve your greater glory. I make this morning offering in union with the divine intentions of Jesus Christ, who offers himself daily in the holy sacrifice of the Mass, and in union with Mary, his Virgin Mother, and our Mother, who was always the faithful handmaid of the Lord. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit. Amen. All right, so I'm pretty excited today because I woke up an hour earlier. So instead of 7-ish, just before 7, I woke up close, just like 6:05 or 6:06 or something. But yeah, 6 a.m. I woke up. And I got so excited. I told my wife yesterday that, okay, I'm going to wake up tomorrow. I'm going to wake up at 6. I can do it. And she says, yes, you can. I even said it right before I went to bed. And I'll tell you what, it was hard to wake up. Because even with all that preparation, my mind still was like, go back to bed, go back to bed. So I'm excited. It's one little accomplishment that I achieved today, and it's 7 a.m. So it takes about an hour to get ready, to brush my teeth, to make my cup of coffee, which I got right here. Enjoy. I wish there was a way that YouTube can upload the video faster. I see other videos when they do live stream, right away it comes up, but I don't know if I can do live stream with editing. I don't know if I can, but I've seen it done before. But I think there's studios that are more high tech than me, so they actually, I'm assuming they're doing it as they're live. I cannot do it. I have the luxury of having like a video maker on my phone. It takes about 10 minutes to do the beginning and after, my little fun music I like. And I forgot my watch today. Oh my goodness. I don't know what time it is. I'm new. I don't know what I'm doing. Joe Dirt. Good movie, good movie. So let's start off with EWTN News. Again, EWTN, if you are first time watching this show, this channel, thank you very much. If you are continue watching it, if you're watching many other episodes on my channel, thank you for your support of just viewing it. And hopefully we can share each other's opinions. But ultimately, my goal is just to recite what the Catholic Church talks about and shed light on news that typically are being passed on by your CNNs of the world, so they don't fit their narrative, so they don't talk about it. And I have no narrative. Well, I do have a Catholic narrative, so I'm biased with that, but I'm biased by telling the truth as well. So if there's something wrong, I talk about the Catholic priests, how they're bad, they're evil, the ones who are sexually abusing children. But I also talk about the 97%, the 36,000 other Catholic priests just in the U.S. that are doing wonderful works. So again, it's all the truth, but it leans in the media more towards bashing the Catholic Church. But you have to tell everything. So that's the main thing. And then also just share news today. I may have a article or two and then give my opinion on that. And then also, have a couple of segments of the daily prayer, a question or two about the Catholic Church. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. I know there's many, many cradle Catholics out there that are wondering, what does this mean? What does that mean? Where you kind of want to know, but you just never ask and you don't know who to ask. Ask me, because either I know it or a lot of times I research it, and we'll both figure out the answer together. And that's what I care about, ultimately finding the answer and the truth to everything. So I do have a book that I got, 2012, so almost 8 years ago, that it's a yellow book, and it's for youth, for teenagers. But man, it breaks it down so simplistically, and it has literally a question. And I'm going to use that in our next episode tomorrow, because it is amazing. It's so simple. It talks about from anything from homosexuality to why does a priest does this, why there's no women in priesthood, why marriage, you shouldn't have sex before marriage, what's the purpose of that, not just, oh, you're bad. So it's a wonderful book. I got through it, like I said, 8 years ago, and I need a refresh. So again, welcome if you're new. If you are not new, thank you again for your support, and let's get going with the EWTN news. EWTN, Eternal World Television Network. Look it up. It's amazing. It has a beautiful, rich story. And back, I could be off a decade or two, but at least in the 50s, maybe even before. No, between the 50s or 60s, Mother Angelica, she was a nun, but the next level of a nun, I forgot what it was called, a mother nun, I forgot, but she started a monastery or mission in Huntsville, Alabama, which at that time there was even no Catholic churches there, so she had a calling. It was a beautiful story. Look it up. And right now, we went there, my wife and I, for our wedding honeymoon, right after we got married. It was beautiful. It was just so holy, so sanctifying, that you just felt like you did a right decision on marrying your spouse. Like, it just felt so beautiful. So, wonderful things. Let's get to the news. So, August 6th. Prayers answered. Diocese of Providence sees decades high number of new seminarians. Yes, that's why they had in the past 5 years or so many priests from Africa, from India, because they couldn't find any priests here in the U.S. And it's sad, because the vocation of a priest is so powerful. You have to appreciate it, because it's basically a doctorate degree. Think of us in the regular world. What's a doctorate degree? It's pretty high up there in the education world. I think that's the highest you can do, is having a PhD, essentially. And that's what priests are doing. But not any secular topic. They do theology. And that's hard in itself. Back before Martin Luther, he was a priest as well, a Catholic priest, and there's some things he disagreed with the Catholic Church. And one of the things that he did not agree with was having the lay person, like your average Joe, obtain a Bible. So at that time, the Bible was only for priests. In those times, again, I want to say early 1400s. I watched a video of Martin Luther, and it was pretty neat. Like I said, a wonderful man, but he just went away from the Catholic Church. And again, that's why it's free will. And so there's nothing wrong. He started his own church, but yeah, there's some little things he did not agree with. But when you think about it now, 2,000 years later, look how many Bibles there are. Look how many versions of Bibles that we just diminish the beauty of it now. And now it just happened. I don't know what part of the city, what city in the U.S., but I just saw a quick clip that the rioters right now were burning Bibles now in the public. So, and of course it's at night. And yeah, it's just crazy. Like I said, there's no respect anymore. There's no beauty and just common respect, even if you don't believe in it. I remember Joe Rogan yesterday when I watched one of his videos. Look it up. It's really cool. Dr. I forgot her name, but he did a sex neuroscientist. She's a doctor, and she talks about transgender. The social construct is not or gender is not a social construct. There is male and female, and this is coming from the scientific world, and really, really neat. But what Joe Rogan said, as far as the just having that just respect for it, he's talked about burning the Bibles. That people are doing it, the rioters, and he says, even if you don't believe in it, to some people it's beautiful and you should respect it. And I'm like 99% quoting it, but that's basically what he said. And I was like, thank you. And this is coming from a guy that doesn't like Catholicism, and that's fine. In fact, I like the guy because he's honest. But yeah, it's interesting, even him towards, I wouldn't say hatred, but just dislike of the Catholic Church. He still had that just common respect, the common courtesy, like, hey, why are you burning Bibles? It's as simple as that. Like, you may hate it, but to a billion people, it means their life. So, again, it is very sad that they do it. And let me see here. Oh, low battery on my wife's phone. But it's okay. We can do it. We can do it. So, that's what's going on right now, is just the total disrespect of the Bible, and it's just unfortunate. So let's continue reading. Says new seminarians, and that's what I was talking about as far as the Bibles, that for priesthood is getting diminished, but it's such a beautiful vocation. And just think of like you're a rock star, but minus the drugs, minus the craziness, and it's just a beautiful vocation. I respect more and more I have more respect for priests because they do a lot. If you talk about, people look at me weird for not having sex before marriage for 3 years while I was dating my wife, and they thought I was the weirdest person ever, like it was impossible. These gentlemen do it for their lifetime. So if you want to talk about in prayer, constantly, the devil is kicking them in their face constantly, saying it's okay to do it, do it, do it. And there are some priests that go into that dark realm, aka pedophiles. So there are priests that do that, and it's unfortunate. We have to pray with them, and I'm not talking about physically with them, I'm talking about spiritually with them. When you're alone, pray. You know they're praying for themselves. Let's pray for them, because ultimately it is a very, very heinous crime. It's against God. Forget about crime. It's against God. And they know it. We know it. But you can see how powerful it is. And devil is a big win for the devil. If you can get someone that represents and goes wholeheartedly into the Catholic Church, aka a priest, and get one of them to turn, it's a big win for them, because now he's doubting everyone else that's following him. So that's why it's actually kind of really good, and not when you go choose a church. I don't know why you choose as if we have the option. My take on that is when you go to mass or a church, just go because you live close to it and you want to help your community. Again, the church is not something like You try on a pair of shoes. Oh, let me try this. Let me see what. And a lot of times people judge it wrongly. They judge it based on the priest. Oh, the priest is too boring. He doesn't know too much English. All these excuses has nothing to do with celebrating the Mass. So you have to look at that in that perspective, that you really should care about your community and what the church represents. Not that, oh, the staff I don't like, or this girl reads all the time and she looks too provocative. All this stuff, you don't need to worry about it. And that's another thing we have to talk about too, promiscuity, or not promiscuity, but the lackadaisiness of wearing clothes for women and men, mostly women, because there's some women that go to Mass and there's a whole different purpose. It's not because, oh, I don't like that place because I don't, and therefore I don't go to that church. No, you continue going, and there's a whole separate conversation of letting that person know respectfully why they shouldn't wear tight clothes or revealing clothes. It's very simple. We're all tempted. Again, it's about knowing your sexuality, knowing that you are a God's creature, that He created you to be sexually attractive to the opposite sex. It's just how it is. And again, for the topic of homosexuality, it's totally separate. I'm talking about for what God made us. And God made us to be attractive sexually to the opposite sex. It's just, is there written. So it's not like we're creating anything or we're being mean to anyone else that doesn't believe it. No, it's just our truth. You can believe it, you cannot believe it. So when you do that, you have to know your sexuality, and you know, okay, if I dress this kind of way, I will get people attracted to this style of my body. It just is. And we know that there's certain parts of the body that we relate to having sexual relations, aka your breast, aka your backside, aka your front side and the bottom, your private parts. All these different things we do. We don't, I don't discriminate against people who wear tight ankles and everything else is baggy. We don't get sexually attracted by looking at your ankles. But there's only certain parts that we see, especially the breasts, that we're like, wow, that our mind switches to thinking of things. And again, it goes into a whole topic of input, output of data. But when you go to some place very sacred, like a Catholic church, you bringing in that bad vibes today would be called, or just those bad spirits where, okay, we're inviting sexual and sometimes sexually bad thoughts because we're with someone, or whether we're with a girlfriend or our spouse next to us. It's separation of the family. That's all what it does. It separates God from us. And our family represents God. That's what it is. It's very simple. It has nothing to do with you're a jerk or I'm going to be mean to you or, oh my gosh, no. We have to take that out and just say what it is and say, you are inviting bad thoughts into this church and it's not of God. But again, you got to know, you truly got to believe in evil. Some people don't believe in evil. There's almost half the country that are Christians in the U.S. believe that God is only good. He's not a punishing God. He's a loving God. And yes, although He is loving, but He allows evil. And why? Because through evil, we become holy. It's the weirdest thing. I still can't grasp it. But this is what I've been studying, and this is what comes out. Through evil, God gives us an opportunity to choose good. So it's pretty crazy how that works. But a lot of times we say, okay, well, evil comes in and we give up, so it's God's fault. Rather than, God, help me through this hard time. I'm acknowledging that I am doing bad right now because you gave me the conscience to realize what's good and bad. Instead of dwelling on it, or instead of even what today's people are doing, or today's society is doing, is accepting it, think of that as the new norm. We should go away from that and say, God, help me because I know I'm doing wrong. Thank you for giving me another opportunity to do bad so I can realize that good is coming. I have to make that choice, though. So it's pretty interesting how all this stuff works. And again, it all comes back to, respecting priests and what they stand for. Because again, overall, it's a very highly respected vocation that a lot of people don't know. So let's read the news. Denver Newsroom by CNA. The Diocese of Providence, Rhode Island is welcoming 8 new seminarians this year, the highest number of incoming seminarians in nearly 4 decades. So wait a minute. Every year they get no more than 8? Good Lord. That's crazy. I'm sure there's 8 priests, and a lot of times the priests that stay, or that, are ordained into any part of the location, I guess, they are able to move anywhere. And, well, I shouldn't say able to move, but they are moved. So the Catholic Church controls all that. And so they are capable of going anywhere in the country, or even if they know a specific language other than English, they might go to another country. So think about, okay, Rhode Island's small. Don't think that, 8 of those seminarians are going to stay there in Rhode Island. No. So we're talking about getting 8 new people for the entire world, at least for the entire U.S. And it's not a lot. It's diminishing. So we have to accept these little wins because, man, it's, like I said, if you know a holy person, I remember a priest told me when I said I practice chastity, and there's sometimes I practice chastity and I didn't even know because I was trying to get girls and I just couldn't. And I don't know why, I just didn't get into porn. I watched porn. I dwelled on it, but I've seen where the average Joe just has it on his phone like it's a Facebook page. I just never got into it. In fact, I did it more of a mechanism when I was mad at God. Again, you know what is good and bad. And I would watch that just to get God mad. So it's crazy how that happened. So it was an easy fix for me where, okay, how can I truly believe and be happy with God instead of getting angry so much? And I'm still struggling to this day of getting angry, but I can say with a happy face that porn is not a problem for me. And it's very simple. What a coincidence. I have my family, my wife, the woman I love for the rest of my life, my kids. When that goes higher, the amount of watching porn just goes lower. First in the beginning because you get bored, or you get bored of watching because you're just so busy with your family. And then when you realize it, you might watch it. Again, my problem has always been of getting mad with God and watching it. And now when I'm getting mad, I cuss sometimes to God. But that next level of saying, I'm going to watch porn, it doesn't tickle my fancy. I don't know. But again, I kind of know because, again, practice makes perfect. What a coincidence that I'm putting focus more on God. I heavily put focus more on God in the past 10 years of my life, especially the past 8 years of my life. And it's, like I said, it's no coincidence that when bad times happen, I little by little stop thinking about pornography. So it's definitely a drug. And I agree with banning pornography. As a realist, I don't think that will happen. But I believe in, okay, we all have a choice. That's beautiful. So choose not to. We don't need a ban on something to say it's wrong and you shouldn't do it. Other than abortion, because abortion is true killing. And last time I checked, if you kill someone, you go to jail. So I wouldn't even say a ban. I would just say it's a crime. Simple as that. Call it a crime. Call it the end of the day. So let's go. So good news for them. And it says that they're the most new seminarians in almost 40 years. Pray for our seminarians, we will, including new students. God said, I will give you shepherds, and indeed he is, the bishop added. All right, so that's a cool, nice story. Prayers answered. Oh, no, there we go. This is August 6th. We talked about Flannery O'Connor. So it says Flannery O'Connor should be studied, not canceled. Scholar tells Loyola leaders. If you remember yesterday, we talked about how Loyola in Maryland took down the name of a building of Flannery O'Connor, and we don't think about how well that person has helped and the saintly things that person did. So they're still talking about it. How about this? August 5th, so yesterday, ban on D&E. I don't know what D&E. D&E abortions advances in Nebraska legislature. So that's pretty good. See, I always get mixed up with these bans because they're like double negative or double positive. I don't get it. So, I don't know, because negative times a negative equals a positive. Negative times a negative equals a positive. Louder. Negative. If you guys remember that movie, it's a good movie. Stand and Deliver. Edward James Olmos. Anyways, I digress. Nebraska lawmakers on Wednesday, in a contentious vote, gave first-round approval to a ban on DNA, which is D and A, which is dilation and evacuation abortions. Dilation and evacuations. I know dilation comes from the word dilated. So when my wife's, 10 centimeters dilated, so I know that part. So I'm assuming that's the end of the pregnancy when the baby's born. And the evacuation, I'm assuming, is what people do when they get out of fire or get out of a burning building, is evacuate. So I don't even want to imagine how they do it, because it is, I saw a video of it, and they literally take tools and grab that baby and crush its head, and it's just unbelievable. So research abortion, what it entails, and also watch the movie Unplanned. I think her name is Abby Johnson from Texas, and she used to be a Planned Parenthood lady, a director, so high up, and she grew a conscience, and she learned how to, say no to that crazy business. And it is a business. Don't get it confused. So the Nebraska Catholic Conference, which has supported the ban since its introduction, hailed the August 5th vote and thanked all those that had prayed and fasted for the success of the bill. Dilation and evacuation abortions, commonly known as dismemberment abortions, are typically done in the second trimester of pregnancy and result in the dismemberment of the unborn child. So I was kind of right. It's between halfway. So not towards the end, but halfway. I mean, heck, even the first trimester, you have the body form. It may be small, but it's unbelievable. So by the second trimester, it's a formed human being. So second trimester is what? So 3 months, anything after 3 months of pregnancy. And then third trimester comes. So 3 times 3 is 9. So the 7, 8, 9. So it's between 3, after 3, but before 7. But yeah, it's unbelievable. It's dismemberment. We know that from insurance, from dismemberment in casualty and dismemberment insurance. If you're an adult and have insurance, you remember that terminology. Dismemberment means your arm goes off or your leg gets amputated. But that's from an accident. This is from intentionally breaking it, so it can go through, I guess, the canal or come out easily. Crazy. So pray for them that they continue doing it. If you need to move anywhere in the U.S., go to Nebraska. They care about your life. They care about your child's life in the womb. That's a beautiful thing for them. And then let's go. Corona baby bust could be worse than expected. Let's see here. By Matt Hadrow in Washington, D.C. Brookings Institution report published in June said that the economic shock caused by the coronavirus, combined with the social effects of the pandemic itself, could trigger a sharp decline in births. Oh, wow. Why? Could trigger a sharp decline in births. Those predictions should not be dismissed. Dr. Catherine Pukaluk, a professor of social research and economic thought at the Catholic University of America, told CNA, noting that the economic uncertainty can have a direct correlation with the birth rate. Well, yeah. I mean, that's why women have abortion, because they don't know the future. They think the future is not in their favor, which the future is always not in our favor because we don't know the future. And we think we know it, but God... I heard a funny saying for many years ago, and I always say it now. Don't if you want to plan something, or if you want to make God laugh, plan. It's just we just don't know the future. We can plan. We think we can plan, but things just happen, and it's just sad that they connect it to the birth rate. And it is true. I mean, it's a very legitimate argument, and I'm just saying that's sad because you shouldn't worry about that. I saw, because coming from a retirement planning and investment background, I read one study where from a child from birth to 18 years old, you'll pay over $180,000. That's including, or that's not even including college, they said. So add probably another $40,000-$50,000 for that. So almost, more than $250,000 that you'll pay over a lifetime. We'll never have $250,000. We'll never have it in 18 years. People live throughout their whole entire lives up until 50, and they're not even close to having enough money to retire at 65. It's just the truth. Because we live in a world of consumption. With consumption comes cost. We had to pay for that consumption. We had to pay for that property. We had to pay for that security, your insurance, all this stuff. So it's crazy that we don't know the future, but we're paying for it, to think that we have a certain life for it, and no, it just doesn't. Even for the people who are billionaires. Look at Steve Jobs. Do you think he wanted to die at that young age? I don't even know how old he died at, but it's pretty young, especially for a man that had all that money that could essentially find ways to stay alive longer, and it didn't. Cancer got it. So it is pretty crazy. So anyways, I digress. That is a good point, like I said, but we just have to believe in God. It's just believe in God that He will take care of it. He will take care of it. So let's go to the Apple News. Let's see what they got cooking for us. Reuters. Well, BBC News, angry Beirut residents demand answers after explosions. Of course, we all want answers. It didn't even affect me at all, and I want answers. We are going to be, Reuters says, we are going to be underwater as Congress wrangles over aid. Millions of renters get desperate. Yeah, if I remember correctly, there's a word for it, something, but essentially it's a law they passed during the coronavirus where it's an extension where you legally can't get evicted. Your landlord cannot evict you because of this time. And that already expired about a couple weeks ago. So as this month comes, and I thank God so much that we were able to pay our monthly rent, but a lot of people can't. And it's pretty scary. Like I said, I work for Lyft, and I drive for Lyft, and you meet people that are just... They'll tell you. They're like, it's hard for me. I don't know where I'm going to live next month. And it's tough. It definitely is tough. So, and then, let's see here. CNN says when a nearly 12-foot alligator came toward his 4-year-old, this dad sprung into action. That sounds dumb. USA Today, Cameron Diaz reveals to Gwyneth Paltrow why she left Hollywood. I got a peace in my soul. Interesting. Cameron Diaz. Man, there was a movie, I forgot what it was called. I think it was called The Counselor, where she tried to have sex with a car. And it was when my wife and I were dating and we went to go watch this movie in a theater. We left. At that moment, we closed our eyes in the theater. I'm like, wow. And I looked at my wife and I'm like, wow, I'm sorry. And we're looking at each other and she said, it's okay. I didn't know. I thought it was going to be a cool... Again, that's during the time when I was transforming little by little into my faith, where it was common to watch movies like that. It was a cool thriller / mob type movie, and I thought it was cool. But what it encompasses, what it all represents, was conflicting with what I believed in, and it was hard to say no. It was hard to say no, and then again, as I have my girlfriend, which is my wife now, coming to my life little by little, I'm not just caring about myself. I'm caring about what we can create in the future and what we can have in the future as a family. So all those things came into our minds, and then it was like 10 minutes later, because we told each other, okay, if something comes up like this again in this movie, let's just walk out. And we did. It was a very gruesome killing. And again, gruesome killing is common. You know, in any of your horror movies, it's common, but it's killing with just ease, and it makes people more and more, interested in just knowing how easy it is to kill someone, aka your video games. So, with the concept of people thinking that video games does not excite or does not influence individuals to kill, I think that is so false. Now, there's been it's a $40 billion industry, the video game industry, so it is a big market. So yes, and I could imagine probably 1 out of 2 people, or even more than that, probably, I don't know, I could just throw a number out there. Let's just say there's 325 million people in the U.S. Let's say half of that or even more. So we're talking about over close to 200 million people have played a game in the past 6 months or are playing video games. Because not just for kids, there's adults as well. It's unbelievable how powerful these video games are, and they're attractive. Don't get me wrong. They're cool because it looks real. So it is fun. I would love to play the sports games, but now you're talking about all different types of games. Your terror games, your fantasy games, all these different things that doesn't mean nothing in the real world. Even the sports, you may think you own the franchise in the Madden game. No, you don't. So it's just those things that is make-believe. But adults are doing it, young teenagers are doing it, even kids are doing it. So you get multi-generation profits. Unbelievable. So they're doing well. And these big corporations know that. That's why Amazon has that Twitch, I think it's called, where you just watch players play games. It's crazy. Microsoft, big company, of course, has Xbox. Sony has PlayStation. So they're controlling a lot of it. So when you have that and you say, of course, it is valid to say not all people are turning into these killers when they play, but then you have to look at just the percentage of the people who play games that are very, very violent. So not the video gamers, because there's so many genres. I'm talking about just the ones that are literally killing. And you know how addictive video games are, and just the killing part of it, so is diminished essentially, the percentage. And within those, again, same concept. Not all of them turn into killers, but it's a high chance. And again, not all, but the more you do it, that is true. The more you do it, it is going to be influence. We talk about how black people get influenced by the people they live around, about the crime. And Joe Rogan mentioned before how, they just live in crime. It's hard to take that out. So we use that in the economic standpoint, but we don't do it for the gaming industry, where something that's literally coming into our heads, everything, our ears, our eyes, our hands, our touch, we're living those crimes. Or Grand Theft Autos of the world, your Alien versus Predator, all these things that are just killing easily, make it easily killing. And then we live close to Fort Hood, about 40 minutes from Fort Hood, and it's a whole different story, because they are really protecting people. They are really killing people to defend themselves. People are killing them. They are really living that. And it's a whole different story. You talk about PTSD. You're talking about all these different scientists saying how much trauma they have. Humans were not meant to see these things in war. And yet we have video games in our own home that emulate that. Your World of Warcraft, which I know is a computer game rather than a video game, but same thing. But now you're talking about all those Call of Duties, which brings in millions of dollars. Millions. I'm talking about hundreds of millions. Look it up, how much money they made from just a Call of Duty. And there's so many levels of it. They've been doing Call of Duty for at least the past 10 years. So don't tell me that it does not influence someone, because it does. And I'm not talking about that's the most extreme, where you go out and kill people. But the common one is you just don't care about life. You don't care about people, because you're in this fantasy world and you can kill them. You can even verbalize it. You can speak it as if it's your own language. Like, oh, I just went to war today. And these gamers can get real into it as if they were real, acting like as if they were real inside of that game. And the companies love it. They make those games specifically for that. So my brother-in-law talked about how he applied for EA Sports, and he joked about it, how he was like, oh yeah, they make the game. And EA Sports are your Maddens. At one time, college football, when back in 2012 or 2013, they stopped it. But all these games, but specifically sports and specifically EA Sports, the entire company, they make algorithms where they keep you going. And one example is when we play football. I remember when I would want to play a football game on Xbox, and I would suck. I would throw a pass, and the person's wide open, and he misses it. I'm like, what the heck? You get all angry. And then towards the end, I'm making these unbelievable passes, and I'm getting back into the game. I'm like, oh, cool, I'm winning. What a coincidence. And also, towards the end of the game, I would make these miraculous passes, and there's people covering that player, which in reality, if a player's covered, he is harder to catch. The receiver's harder to catch the ball, compared to when they're wide open and I drop it. It's just weird, but you can't, that could happen in real world. Yeah, but or you can just say that companies have algorithms and say that they entice you to keep playing so you get more excited. So it's fake. And I'm sorry, but that does not interest me. And that's why I just don't have an inkling to play. We have an Xbox 360 in 2012 or 2020. I bought it in 2012. And we only watch it to watch Power Rangers DVD that we watch for my son. So I have a controller, but I only use the green button to push play and start to pause it. And it's just those crazy things that you do, you get addicted to it. But you just have to realize what is real, what is not. And it will take time away from my family. That's the ultimate. People talk about extreme, going out and shooting people. And yes, that's a possibility. Again, not all. But the majority of the effect, the negative effect, is wasting time. Because when you turn that button off, when you turn that machine off, it means nothing. There's no progress in the world. You did nothing to contribute to the society. Nothing at all. You wasted your life via minutes of your life. It's nothing. So it's pointless. It makes you excited. It's just another form of addiction. And yes, that's the real cause of it. People don't talk about the addiction of video games. They talk about, oh, well, they have the argument of the most extreme. Why do we have arguments of the most extreme? Oh, well, they're not going to go out and kill people. No. And yes, there's a small percentage that does. And I'm not talking about mass shooting, but I'm talking about domestic violence. I'm talking about anger issues. I'm talking about depression, because when they realize at that moment, when something for many years they play and they realize it's not real, you're going to have a moment of depression. You just will. That's science. When you think of something, it's called disillusion. And a lot of times you get emotional about it. And a lot of times you get depressed over it. And it's hard to get over depression. And it's just, those things come from just playing video games. So when I see all that, it's just crazy how it's just unfortunate. So that's my take on the video game influence. Is it does worse than killing people. It kills the family, hypothetically, it just shows that you just hurt your family. You don't spend time with them. You're wasting your time. It's not real. And a lot of times you develop these anxiousness, where you're anxious all the time. You're like twitching all the time. Maybe that's why Amazon called it Twitch, because they're all into it. And again, that has nothing to do with caring for your family, caring for others. It's all about you, and I disagree with that. And that's why I think it's a bad influence, video games. Because you will be hooked on that, and you don't do nothing contributing to your society. Nothing at all. So please, adults, I got into it with my brother-in-law, or I seen how he got into playing it. And they justify, oh, all husbands do it. It's okay, you're a husband. Bull crap. You know how many times we had to say goodbye to him when all of us were together as a family and he went upstairs by himself to play a video game? You just have to answer this question. Is it taking time from what's most important in my life? And say what you want. He chose that over spending time with his family. I don't care. He may have the best excuse ever, and may be a well thought excuse, like actually a legitimate excuse, but he's still choosing gaming over his family. And he's one of millions of men. I'm the weird one here. But again, you got to ask yourself, will that affect loving my family? And 100% it will. 100%. Why do you think I do this? This is actually something good for me, but I've noticed some times where I was editing and I'm not spending time with my kids. My kids are just on my knees saying, oh, alta means alzame, means care and pick me up in Spanish. And I'm just playing with my phone, trying to do a perfect video part of editing of this video itself. That's why I make a attempt to wake up even earlier now, because I go into the time where they wake up. So again, you have to look at these things, and I don't want this to be affecting my life. And this is not even gaming. This is just simple taking time away, but it's the same concept. It's taking time away from my family, so it doesn't matter. You name it. But as far as video gaming, crazy. Please don't get stuck into that. From a business perspective, from my business perspective, companies love it. They're making billions of dollars off you. So they don't care about your family. They don't. Only you. So that's my take on it. It's very dangerous to the family. It's very detrimental to the family and to your psyche as well, and to the society that you live in, your neighborhood. You don't produce. You don't contribute nothing to the neighborhood. And I'm saying this because I see a lot of parents just give in. Oh, my kids are all high tech. Oh, it's cool. Especially here close to Austin, we think it's cool that they're into computers, but so they let them. We're talking about obesity. That's the other thing. The kids that, stay out, they don't exercise, they don't see outside, they just don't do nothing of that. Now, not all of them, but the majority of them. So we're talking about eating habits that are changing, your sense of reality, making friends. Their experience of making friends is chatting over the internet as they're playing games. It's not them, man. Please be careful about the internet. Or be careful, well, yeah, the internet too, but be careful about video gaming. Because it is very destructive in a family's life. And I'm talking about adults as well. Not just kids, adults. And if you're watching and if you're a male, I would just say please stop from the beginning and learn about why it's detrimental to your family. If you don't care about your family, there you go. Then we all have choices in life. So I care about my family, and yes, I can play anytime. I can buy it. I mean, it's tempting. Like I said, it is fun. But you have to stop that funness and say, why is it fun, and why am I have to compare it or debate or choose between my family and that? Why? Because you have to. You have to choose. Because time is so precious. That's why. You can't make up time. So you have to do it. You do it with anything else. If I go to a gym, I don't spend time here. If my wife goes to the gym, it's a different story. All these different things that you do, that you try to include your family, include the people that you love. And so CNN talked about the alligator. That was dumb. It says CNN Politics, fact checked. Trump makes at least 20 false claims in Fox and Friends interview. Pretty fun. And I bet you one of them's, he said the sky is green. So children and COVID. Trump said of the coronavirus, if you look at children are almost, and I would almost say definitely, but almost immune from this disease. He added, they don't have a problem. They just don't have a problem. Facts first, in black letters, bold letters, says, while children are, on the whole, less likely to get seriously ill or die from the coronavirus than adults are. We should stop at that point. There's a whole other section when they say, while, after what I just read. And it's just funny. They just admitted that Trump was saying correct. While he is correct, oh my God. And this is the first false. Why do you think I don't want to read more? I mean, it's just, why would you want to publicize lies? And that's what they're doing with Trump. Trump, honestly, the stuff that he talks about, we do it as human beings. We do it. He's just another human being. I do it all the time on the video that we're not 100% certain about the majority of the things we talk about, but we know something of it. We're not dumb. But that's the power that politics had. That's the power that media has. The news outlets, the big news outlets, your CNNs of the world, that they always put us down because they say you're not 100% correct. And that's wrong. And I love it. And I love it because Trump is just like an average Joe. And we get that. We get what he's saying. We get that he's not 100%. He's shedding light on it. And it could be 100%, but gives us to learn more about it. And for them to just blatantly going against them, and they use every little thing to put them down, again, it fuels the fire of us hating CNNs of the world. It just does. And yeah, we might not burn down a building like these radicals do, but we'll vote against you, and whatever that's against you, aka Trump, will vote for him. So again, you're not doing a good duty if you want to take Trump out of the office by doing these. Because you just said it in yourself. While he's correct, I mean, that's what average Joe like myself would interpret. So I'll just read it just to give truthful news. I shouldn't say even truthful. Their opinion. The full take of their opinion, which is totally biased against Trump. So let me do that because you guys deserve that respect. So I'll read it again. While children are, on the whole, less likely to get seriously ill or die from coronavirus than adults do, that's what Donald Trump says, they are certainly not immune. Children get affected, transmit the virus, and do sometimes get seriously ill or die. And he says, but almost immune from this disease. And they're talking about they are not immune. He says almost immune in their own words. And that's why I'm not even going to mention the other ones. It's just unbelievable. As far as reading it, I'll read the top part, but I'm not going to read what they talk about because it's just unbelievably wrong. Testing in cases, state of the pandemic, ventilators, testing in India, New York congressional primaries, absentee voting versus other mail voting, Nevada's plan for mail-in voting, Nevada and ballot counting, NATO and Germany, NATO and Obama, monuments and penalties, George Soros and protesters, the courthouse in... Oh, well, I want to read the George Soros and protesters. Trump claimed that they say Soros and they say other people fund Antifa and loose collection of anti-fascist activists, citing protest signs that appear to be made in a high-class printing shop. Facts first. There is no evidence that liberal billionaire, and he says liberal billionaire, George Soros, a frequent subject of white ring and anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, oh my God, is funding Antifa. The existence of nice signs does not mean protesters are legitimate, and many protesters have carried handmade signs. So where are they funded? You never look at that, CNN. How are they funded? You never look into it. They just say, oh no, that's wrong. Why don't you look it up? Where are they funded? Because Glenn Beck looked it up. And you can look it up on YouTube. I watched a good 10 minutes of it. And I still don't remember a lot of it. But a lot of it is not... And I'm talking about Black Lives Matter. Because that's different. He did just Black Lives Matter. But Antifa, I could imagine, is very similar. Because they go hand in hand. And even I remember watching a video about Joe Rogan. Again, I like Joe Rogan. He's not even a fan of Catholicism. But he tells the truth, and I appreciate it. And I would love to talk with him one day with my 3 subscribers, or 4 subscribers. And he has over, 9 million? So I don't know if that will ever happen. But I'd love to talk with him one of these days. Especially if he's down the street from me here in Texas. So that would be kind of cool. But you can dream. But hey, he's just another human, so maybe he'll do it. But I'd love to chat with him about the Catholic Church, because a lot of things that he talks about, the Catholic Church agrees with. It's just because it's truth. And that's why so many people are gravitated towards Joe Rogan. He doesn't have a side, essentially. I think he leans more Republican than Democrat. But again, that's not true either. He tells us to our face that he's not neither of them. But Democrats are hating on him more than Republican for being closer to Republican side compared to Republicans. They don't, I guess, dog on him, if you will, or get mad at him for being close to the left as a Democrat. It just doesn't. You see more on the left criticizing him for being closer to Republican thoughts. So it's interesting, but overall, it's really crazy how they. Oh, that's what I want to say about George Soros. And he mentions, oh my God, Jordan, like a couple years ago when I watched a video, he was like, he is so, like, anyone who talks about George Soros, about funding things, is a lunatic, he says. What a coincidence. The left kind of talked about that for many years. And now I'm watching videos. There was one segment of a gentleman and him were talking, and he was, I may be wrong, but the Secret Service, he had a black shirt on, the guy. He looked like mid-50s, but young 50-year-old, and he asked about these craziness about Antifa, about these rioters, and he was like, yeah, he talked a little bit about it, but within the same sentence, he says, yeah, and I don't want to get all crazy, but we just don't know. It could be what George Soros, could not. And his perspective was different because he got it from a Secret Service, ex-Secret Service gentleman. So the truth is going to come out. And I don't have no proof, but CNN doesn't show proof. They just dismiss it right away. That's scary. Again, I almost believe that George Soros is playing, because when you read his bio, a lot of it, he influences things. And if you look at how he made his money, liberal and democratic and left-winging individuals give him more money. So again, follow the money. And that's why it's a legitimate proof. And that's why I get even angrier, because they just dismiss and put anti-Semitic and what was the other word they said? Conspiracy theories. Give me a break. What? So again, all this stuff is crazy. And it means nothing. They have their own agenda. So I know they lie. But they have their own agenda, and they say they're for the truth. Give me a break. So there you go. There's good news today. 2 articles. Still don't know too much about Beirut. Let me see here. So BBC News, what I mentioned before, Beirut explosion. Let's see. And I find myself skipping to like the 3rd paragraph, because the first 2 paragraphs is like getting you into it. I'm like, I don't need to get into a story. Just give me the news. just give it to me. And if I want to hear person's opinions, I go on channels like this, to hear about their personal opinions. But what I want from the news is just simply the news, and let me form my own opinion. And if I want to record it like what I'm doing right now about my opinion, I do it. But don't give me that opinion of yours. I don't want your op-ed. I don't want none of that. I just want the truth. And we can't get it. Joe Rogan talked about it yesterday. We just don't have a just pure news that is big, because politics get involved. When you have a big story like that, or a big news agency like your CNN's, it's just natural that you get politics. That's why I don't like your big news, because they tell you that they are truthful, and they have billions of dollars coming in throughout these past decades of influential money. So don't tell me that it's for the people. So I digress. People in Beirut have expressed anger at the government over what they say was negligence that led to Tuesday's huge explosion. President Michael Aoun said the blast was caused by 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate. We already know that. The blast killed at least 137 people and injured about 5,000 others, while dozens are still missing. A 2-week state of emergency has begun. Beirut is crying. Beirut is screaming. People are hysterical and people are tired. Tired of what? Your BBC News that's, politically motivated. So why don't you tell us? You have all these great journalists and you don't know what's going on there because of negligence. So again, meanwhile, the country's Supreme Defense Council insisted that those found responsible would face the maximum punishment. So now let's talk about someone's did something to it. Meanwhile, Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch have called for an independent investigation into the blast. So human rights, wow. In a statement, HRW said it had serious concerns about the ability of the Lebanese judiciary to conduct a credible and transparent investigation on its own. On Thursday, President Emmanuel Macron became the first world leader to visit the country, a former colony of France, since the tragedy. He told crowds he would not let aid go to corrupt hands and promised to call for a new political pact from country's leaders. Wow. So they want a change already. That's crazy. That's crazy. So, again, we just don't know. But in the meantime, people are dying. It's just, they want their own agenda. They do. And the only ways you can make change is through a crazy ordeal or a crazy event. So I don't know. I really don't know. But I do know that we are not getting no answers. So that's what's crazy. So let's go to the saint of the day. Let's talk about good stuff. So it was interesting. I thought every day had a specific saint or multiple saints. And today what I've been reading, it says Transfiguration of the Lord for August 6th. So a preview of coming attractions. Our destination is a person more than a place. It was not a miracle that Jesus Christ transfigured himself on Mount Tabor before the apostles. It was a miracle that he maintained his common earthly appearance for the whole of his life. It was a miracle that his face was not glowing like the sun as he walked the hills and valleys of the Holy Land. Christ's normality, his sustained suppression of his divine radiance, was a miracle of humility and slavish devotion to his vocation to incarnate, teach, suffer, and die for mankind. Amen. So that wasn't the saint of the day, but it's the transfiguration of the Lord. So basically, if you remember the story, the apostles went up to the mountain and they saw Jesus transfigured, essentially. So beautiful story in the Bible. Please read it. It's a good one. And it says the church's understanding is contrasted by two extreme views on its flanks, one overly spiritualizing man and the other overly materializing him. The religions of the Orient stress the inner life of man to such an extent that they see him as a pure spirit caged in the body, glad to escape the confining carcass at death. From this Oriental perspective, the body is a trap for the soul. On the other flank is the Western materialistic view. It sees the body as having priority over the soul to such an extent that physical sensory experience is the best and only path to knowledge. This Western lens sees the body as a sensory sponge meant to soak up as many external experiences. Pleasure, music, travel, conversation, food is possible. If you don't experience something yourself, you can't assess its truth or value. This personalizing of existence reduces all reality to me and leads to cultural breakdown. Interesting. So we have to experience it too. It's very like, you leave your family to go with your wife. You have to experience it. So let's go to the stock information. NASDAQ is up 0.5% at 10,998, so almost 11,000. Pretty good. New York Stock Exchange Composite is up 1% at 12,731. And Dow Jones is up almost 1.4%, which is at 27,201. So that went up about 200 points, which is good. And then the Catholic Answers. This is one that I want to look up. So, pornography's effects on adults and children. This is from Catholic News Agency. So let's look this up. By Victor B. Klein, a PhD licensed clinical psychologist at St. Salt Lake City, Utah. About the author, it says, Victor B. Klein earned his PhD at University of California, Berkeley, and is presently a psychotherapist specializing in family marital counseling and sexual addictions. He is also professor emeritus of psychology at the University of Utah, Salt Lake City, president of Marriage and Family Enrichment, a nationwide seminar group, and author, editor of numerous scientific articles and books, including the book, Where Do You Draw the Line? Explorations in Media, Violence, Pornography, and Censorship. Nice. Note, this is a bride version of Klein's article. The entire unabridged version is available in monogram form from Morality in Media, 475 Riverside Drive, Suite 239, New York, New York. For more information, please go to descriptions and price sheets and the order blank on MIM website. So the first bullet point says, what are pornography and obscenity? Whether pornography has any significant harmful effects on consumers continues to be a controversial issue, not only for average citizens, but also for behavioral scientists. This is not surprising in the light of the fact that two national commissions, the Majority Report of the 1970 Presidential Commission on Obscenity and Pornography and the 1986 Attorney General's Commission on Pornography, came to diametrically opposed conclusions about this matter. Some social commentators claim that pornography is mainly a form of entertainment, possibly educational, sometimes sexually arousing, but essentially harmless. Or they claim at the very least that there's no good scientific evidence of harm. Other social commentators claim more dire consequences and give us examples, recent cases played up by the media of sex murderers who have claimed that pornography made them do it. To ascertain something about pornography's effects, we first need to define it. The word pornography comes from the Greek word porno and graphia, meaning depictions of the activities of whores. What? In common parlance, it usually means material that is sexually explicit and intended primarily for the purpose of sexual arousal. Obscenity, however, is a legal term which was defined by the U.S. Supreme Court in 1973 Miller v. California decision. For something to be found obscene and therefore unprotected by the First Amendment, a judge or jury representing a cross-section of the community must determine if the material taken as a whole appeals to be prurient, sick, morbid, shameful, or lascivious interest in sex, depicts sexual conduct in a potentially offensive manner, goes beyond contemporary community standards with regards to depictions of sexual conduct or activity, taken as a whole, lacks serious literary, artistic, political, and scientific value. The material has to meet all three tests before it can be found obscene in the eyes of the law and is distribution prohibited. This means that something could be regarded as pornographic but still not be obscene, such as an explicit sex film produced and used to teach medical students about human sexuality, or a film or a book with serious artistic or literary value which has some explicit sexual content. Thus, the Supreme Court has protected a wide variety of sexual matter in movies, books, magazines, and in other formats from being prohibited for sale and exhibited to adults. There is a stricter standard with respect to minors. Under the Miller test, however, the distribution of pornographic material which is obscene, such as most of what can be called hardcore, can be prohibited and penalties prescribed. That means nothing when a teenager, a 12-year-old, 11-year-old has their parents' cell phone and they go to the bathroom to watch something, or they go to a bedroom because the parents are too busy to deal with that because they are quote-unquote working from home or doing other things at home or just simply not caring about their kids. There are parents who are like that, and there are some parents that don't even mean to do that, but they are just have their own obsessions of just going on Facebook or going on social media, going on something that they don't care too much about, but they're just inclined to do it. In the meantime, you have these kids have access to hardcore porn. So what does that mean, hardcore? I remember, I'm 31 myself. I remember when I watched hardcore porn. And in my opinion, hardcore porn is like hitting someone. like brutal sex, and that turns them on. And that was weird to me watching, but I'm like, wow, this is different. But now hardcore porn is very sick now, because again, it goes along with wanting more. With porn, you want more. There you go. Talk about a slogan. You always want more. You think it's cool. And that's why I'm against with marriage couples and say, oh, let's spice up your life. That is not going to fix your marriage by having a threesome, or doing something. When you say spice it up, it sounds funny, but let me go let me go in the back door, if you know what that means. Anal sex. Let's do something different. Let's do something kinky, all this stuff. But you just want more and more. There's no happiness to it. And I love how they're talking about it, because scientists are talking about how, and this was in 76. What is that, 20, 40, almost 50 years ago? Internet wasn't even there in 76, and we're talking about laws that are taken from the 70s. So pornography has evolved, and look how much, billions of dollars. I think it's even, they have more videos of porn on the internet is easily accessible, it's free, than video games. So if you want to talk about video games being an addiction, pornography is even worse, because again, we have to learn our sexuality. We like it. It's a sexual act is a beautiful act. So they got us already hooked already. I mean, it's not, and there's so much of pornography going on, but again, even for kids, but even adults too. I'm not talking about just for kids. This is killing families, literally, because they want more and more. By divorce, which is more than 60% of divorce here in 2020. And so you got to look at the factors in these. Then you got to look at the minors who say, well, I can't do that. This guy is having sex for a good 30 minutes. Why do I have sex for only 5 minutes? What's wrong? Then you have this already going into a relationship, doubting yourself, not knowing that you can do all this. And then women, there's more uptick in women watching porn. So women are doing this, and they want their pure pleasure that they think they're getting, and it's nothing like pure pleasure. It's nothing. And then, of course, you want more, so you act out on it. You want more of it. And again, it's detrimental to the family. It's very, very sick, and is very, very dangerous, and is very anti-woman. Think about oral sex. What does that mean? So, sexually speaking, a woman cannot get sexually aroused scientifically. She may think she is. I'm performing oral sex, and there's other words to say it to make it more kinky. But I'm just saying that, performing oral sex, I'm holding the penis, okay, yeah, and I feel good, all this stuff. But she does not feel nothing sexually. There's no arousal. And I'm talking about physical arousal rather than emotional arousal. But the man is feeling it. The man is sexually being aroused. And same thing when she receives oral sex from her partner. He doesn't feel nothing. You don't get sexual pleasure internally through your lips, through your fingers. You don't. You just don't. So she will receive it then. But it's all about that my pleasure first. And sex was not made for that. Sex was to procreate and to have this experience that God gives us, that pleasure of bringing another child into this world. That's what it is. It's something that we have to put on a pedestal, but now we do it like it's nothing. It's unbelievable. Patrick Bet-David, if you heard of him, he's the owner of Valuetainment, millionaire, insurance owner of a big company, PHP, I think, agency, but in Dallas, Texas. He did a quick video on LinkedIn, and he went to a person that applied for his mentorship, and it was an old big guy, beard. He knocked on the door with this camera crew, and he was like, hey, you applied for my mentorship. Are you 100% committed? And he was like, he shocked him. He was in his shorts and during the day, and Patrick had his nice suit on and everything, and he was like, are you committed? He was like, yes. He looked at camera crew. You got that on camera? Okay, so let's go in, he said. He went inside his nice house. Might not even be his, but he went to, it looked like a condominium, went to his home, and right on a big 50-inch screen TV was a video game, and he had the controller in his hand. And the guy was like, okay, he took a club and he smashed the TV. And he says, if you're really committed, we're going to do this. And he smashed the TV, He looked on the computer, he smashed his laptop, and then he was like, give me your phone. He was okay. He got scared. He was like, are you going to please don't break it? He looked at it, and he went like this. Yeah, you got Pornhub right on there. We're going to take that off. Your Tinder account is enough with swipes, he said. And it was so cool. He was like, read this book, you'll be a lot better. And I love how he just shed light on that. Just out of nowhere. He went into his personal zone, and he says, you're doing wrong. And it's beautiful what he did. But let's focus on the pornography side of it. It's just normal for us. And that's where it's wrong. It's, at least 5 years that I haven't watched porn. Is a beautiful thing because you have no data. You have no, it's like you're forming this innocent mind all over again because, 5 years ago, I was 26. So 26 of my years of my life, and let's say the latter 10, the previous 10, I've watched porn. And I still have these minds and thoughts in my head, and you're draining the swamp. So don't tell me that you can't get out of it. And I know there is some people it's extreme, it's an addiction, but for average Joe, you're just numb to it. And that's where it ruins your relationship. You can't have no relationship with anyone because everything's plain. You have nothing to offer, and that person most likely has practiced the same thing as you when it comes to pornography, so they have nothing to offer. It's very sad, but at the same time, it's very detrimental right now. Then what happens to the most extreme? The most extreme becomes pedophiles. And it all starts with pornography. It does. Look at Ted Bundy, Jeremy Dahmer, all these guys when they get interviewed. And if you don't know who they are, look them up. They're very sexual predators. One was targeting black gay men, and he would dismember them and keep their body parts frozen or refrigerated in his apartment. It's sick what they do. Now, do a lot of people go to that? No. The most common one they would go is not caring about their wife. Having sex with other women while they're with their girlfriend, or even worse, when they're with their wife, because they mean nothing to them. Not caring about their family. Having sex with their family members. The father-in-law or the stepdad or stepmom. You all see this in this gross porn videos, which is very, very common. Your stepmom or your stepdad, stepdaughter. That's all allowed, and it's so wrong. So it is an addiction. I'm happy that they talked about that, about pornography, because you have to look at it. And we say, oh, it's just porn, watch the porn. Heck no. It kills the family. And again, some people don't even care about family. All they care about is themselves. And we have to say that that's wrong. We are compassionate, but we have to say that's wrong. We are for the family. And the family brings happiness, this pure love that you can never get from ejaculating 1,000 times in your life. And there are men that have sex 1,000 times. There are many men out there who do that. Just do the math. They jack off, 2 times a week? Let's do the math on that. I'm curious. So let's look at what's the calculator here? So they jack off, let's say 3 times. On average, that's common. 3 times a week. 3 times 52 weeks in a year. 156 times they ejaculate. Let's say they're 40 years old. Well, 35. At least they've been doing it since 15. So what is that? 15, 20, 30. So 20 years times 20 years. 3,000 times. And what did I say? 1,000 times? 3,000 times. Let's say on average they do once a week or something. 1.5 times a week. So you narrow down to 15, more than 1,000 times. And that's even at 35, half of your life. And you'll never find happiness. You'll never. It's just that science. It's just when you hold that pureness in, a.k.a. practice chastity, and you give that to one person that you love, so much commitment comes out of that. So much. And it's anti-woman. So all these people that are for women's rights and everything, is being exploited more towards women. Because now you talk about sex trafficking. Now you talk about prostitution. Because again, through porn, which is a very, very first step, because it's so easy, we can get it here right now. Right now we can get it. And no one can judge us because it's our own personal phone. No one will look at it unless Patrick comes into your house and looks at your phone, which we should all do. We don't. We have it all secret. But that's why we have these sick mind, sick thoughts. And what do? We want more and more. We want more prostitution. Why do you think prostitution is still going on right now? You think it is going on because there's no one wanting it? No, there's people wanting it. And we just have to stop. Again, no law is going to stop us from thinking what is right and wrong. We have to make the change. Michael Jackson said it best. Look the man in the mirror. I'm asking him to change his ways. We have to change. So if you're addicted to porn, I feel for you, man. It's hard. No pun intended. It's very difficult. But there is a way to better your life. And the first step is to take it off your phone. Second step is do that the next day, and the next, and the next, and the next. I'm telling you, it will feel like you have so much more to offer. You feel more confident in life. You feel more happy in life because you're not giving away all your love. You're saving this love and giving it to one person. You have so much to offer, so much to give. That is a man. That is a man. And we have to do that. We have to say what is wrong and what is right. So I'm very big on that because, again, if you want to talk about abuse, sexual abuse, minor sexual abuse towards minors, because everything goes. That's what's wrong with pornography. Everything goes. Nothing is off limits. So, and that's wrong. There's got to be a limit towards this, especially with this hijacked thought of sexual intercourse. It wasn't made to have sex with multiple partners. It's not. I don't care what you heard, what people taught you. It will never be that. And look about it. And you know who has it right? The Catholics. And not because I'm biased, because the divorce rate. Let's look at the divorce rate. A lot of times people get divorced because of sexual purposes, or they just want more. They talk about finances, talk about disillusion, but it stems from sexuality, from sexual intercourse. It does. A lot of people don't talk about it, but it does. You just don't have no respect for that person, so you just don't care about them. It's what, well, I need to be happy. I'm not happy. So what do? You look at porn. Because this first step into not liking your partner is to put them down sexually. How do you do that? Looking at porn. And okay, well, this isn't enough because he doesn't know that I'm looking at porn. Let me make a statement. And again, it's real. You may have some outliers that, oh no, he was abusive, whatever. How do you think he became abusive? How do you think he became abusive? Or she became abusive? They have no respect. And that's what pornography teaches and preaches. There's no respect for the other person. It's only you. What's in it for you? So that mindset is detrimental on both ends. So again, pornography is very, very powerful. And it's taken over this country. And even over the world. So we have to get back on understanding the sanctity of a sexual act. What was the purpose of that? And again, God was right. It's made to procreate and to bring life in. That beautiful bond that you have with someone. And even now in today's world with all this pornography going on, people still have that inkling of having a bond. But it goes away. Because that's science. If you don't practice enough, it's not going to be part of your life. So practice chastity. I made a video, look on my channel, about chastity, why it works. It's the most beautiful thing ever. It's something that we don't talk about because the answer is right there. It's kind of like the concept of it's better to treat cancer rather than cure it. So people don't talk about it, so they rather treat this sexual urge of continuously treating it rather than having a cure of it, where is the pure happiness. And with chastity is pure happiness. I don't care if you can be a homeless person. If you practice chastity, beauty will come. Especially, obviously, if you have a partner too. You both practice chastity. That's the most beautiful thing. So let's look up the business info and the reading of the day, and we'll call it a day here. So let's see the business info. I like to go with Robinhood. Robinhood is really cool, even better than the Apple News. So Robinhood, this was yesterday. Well, it should have a newer one. Hold on. Come on. Guess it didn't update. So anyways, Disney's ecosystem error. Says Chipotle's Disney's sales plunged 42% because hybrid ecosystems don't help in a pandemic. It says Disney sales plunged 42%. Disney lost an unhappy $5 billion compared to a $1.4 billion profit last year. Disney's U.S. parks, resorts, cruises, and Disneyland Paris were closed for the entire quarter. Turns out 3 out of 4 of Disney's business divisions are pandemic losers. So your parks, your studios, all that. But again, it's like I mentioned before, it's going to come back. And they're not going anywhere. They're not going out of business. So for them, they lost, $5 billion. But they probably paid close to $4 billion or $3 billion on costs. So remember, they're not dishing out any money. They're just not making any money either. So, yeah, they probably truly lost $1 billion, maybe $2 billion overall. What is that to Disney that makes, I can guess at least $100 billion? So it's ridiculous. And give me a break. It's not going to make them bad. But, hey, whatever. It's good news. COVID helped the digital economy. So having a hybrid ecosystem like Disney isn't beneficial. Now Disney is looking to double down on its techier side. Take-Two sales soar as video games become the escape route of 2020. Remember what we talked about? Video games. Now they're at home. And the parents are okay with it because they got to work. So they're okay. Go to your room. Unbelievable, man. So millions in the corona economy. Digital fantasy worlds apparently thrive. Digital fantasy, right there. Video game publisher Take-Two nearly doubled its profits last quarter. Now Take-Two's stock price is at a record high, up 35%. A 54% how much Take-Two sales soared from March to June. 127% rise of the spending surge from microtransactions in games like NBA 2K and Grand Theft Auto. People were not only spending more on T2's games, but also spending more in Two Teens games. And then it says Take-Two is not the only one. It's all connected in the gaming industry. U.S. spending on video games surged 26% in June, the highest for the month in over 10 years. That lifted a tide for all gaming players, both on the hardware and the software side. Sony's gaming sales surged 33%, helping it crush earnings estimates. Sony's PlayStation Plus subscription service added a best record 3.4 more million users. Now Sony's gearing up to launch its next generation PlayStation consoles just in time for the holidays. Microsoft's gaming consoles soared 64% thanks to Xbox games and subscriptions. Microsoft is now working on integrating Xbox with its upcoming Netflix for Games service, which lets you play from your smartphone or tablet. It says a big threat to gaming companies is democratization. For decades, a handful of video game publishers acted as gatekeepers of the gaming world. Take-Two's console game sells for up to $60+, and the latest consoles they're played on, like Xbox, sell for $400. But now cloud gaming, like Microsoft's Netflix for game services, is threatening that an exclusive big biz model. When you can play high-quality games straight from a smartphone, that opens doors for developers and for prices of take. Now it's going to be cheaper to do it. Now it's going to be more mainstream. So again, it's against us. Please do not play video games. Don't. I'm telling you, you are happier without it. It'll mess up your psyche. It'll mess up your contribution to the society. It'll make you lazy. It'll make you more depressed. Believe me, that it will. And I don't even have to look it up. It's just common sense. We had video games here since, the 80s. It developed more in the 90s, and by the 2000s, we have it. We're talking about 20 plus years. A whole generation already now. So please don't get into it. It's unbelievable. And again, I would say the same thing as pornography. It's the same concept. You have the most extreme people that go out shooting, killing people, but the majority of people don't. And for gaming. And then pornography is pedophiles, the most extreme than when you act out on criminal behavior for the sake of wanting pornography and wanting more. We all want more. And again, it's a business. Both entities are businesses. They want you to have more. That's business 101. How can you have a repeat customer? And that's what they do. So please don't look into this, especially pornography. Again, the common thing for video games is you don't care about your family. Again, breaking the family. You see the trend? Same thing with pornography, but it's even worse because now you're talking about your sexual being, your sexual state of mind that is diminishing. You can't get that back. You can't. You have to work really, really hard to get it back. And that's why I say you'll never get it back, because no one will even think about working a very minuscule amount. So it's most likely you'll never get it back. You have to work so hard at it. I'm talking about a decade or two of getting all that mindset of easy porn accessibility, everything, that position you like, that girl that you like, that guy that you like, all these different things that you think. My brother-in-law talked about it before, how he had a friend that he was just a player. He was a rapper, and he went all around, and he experienced homosexuality, and he thought it was normal. Because he wants more. Like, what else? He just got tired of women, so let me try with men. And all these is just perverted. It's very much perverted. And any gay man or gay woman tell you, wait a minute, even though we like the same sex, doesn't mean that we are perverts. But for some reason, that's what they equate to. So it is very crazy how this world is working now. How they just go more and more. It's not about loving the person anymore. It's about what can I get out of my pleasure right now. So that's scary. Let's make sure, please try as much as you can to take away that urge. Say a Hail Mary, it works 100% of the time. And just walk away. I'm telling you, feel better. And for all the people that think, oh, you'll explode if you don't masturbate, bull crap. Give me a break. And a lot of times, if you want to get religious, is you'll have wet dreams. So scientifically speaking, it's going to come out. So I get that. But you're not going to explode. It'll just come out when you're sleeping. And last time I checked, Jesus knows that. God knows that. And I don't feel bad at all for ejaculating and having these thoughts, because I cannot control my thoughts. But I will tell you this, during those dreams, I know that they're very gross situations. I know that's not God. I know evil's trying to mess with him, because I know he can't mess with me when I'm conscious, awake during the day. I fight it every day. So I get it. You have my permission to mess with me at night, because that tells me that I'm winning this battle because God is with me. So that's the religious point of view, that your body won't explode. Scientific point of view is you just get wet dreams. So it's going to come out sooner or later. So I get that. But you have the choice, the difference. That's the big difference. When you're sleepy, you don't. So it's okay. It's like a pass. And that's fine. You release it, boom. Continue on. But you know at least that you can say no to it when you're awake. And that's so much more powerful than giving into it when you're awake. And again, you'll probably still get wet dreams if you masturbate a lot. But you're giving into it. So to evil is nothing. So I'll give you a wet dream every once in a while. So it's crazy. And to the point where you almost won't have a wet dream for a while. But again, I'm not a scientist. I just know what I experience. And I get wet dreams. I don't know. This is not a common thing. But I would say once out of 6 months I might get it. So I can't say that I never gotten it. I still have them. And again, it's a lot of times where it's sick things that I tell my wife. Because I know I say no to that all the time when I'm awake. So it's a good thing for me because I know evil can't get to me. And if he does, pray. Say Hail Mary. I've done it. I've done it. And it works. It works. So let's go to the reading of the day. Let's go to, before my wife's phone is off. All right. The feed providing that he's not available. That's fun. See, maybe it was a glitch. Okay. Feast of the Transfiguration of the Lord. So what we talked about. So throne, this is Deuteronomy chapter 7, 9 to 10. Thrones, as I watched, thrones were set up, and the Ancient One took his throne. His clothing was bright as snow, and the hair on his head is white as wool. His throne was flames of fire with wheels of burning fire. A surging stream of fire flowed out from where he sat. Thousands upon thousands were ministering to him, and myriads upon myriads attended him. The court was convened and the books were opened. As the visions during the night continued, I saw on one like a son of man coming on the clouds of heaven. When he reached, and the Ancient One was presented before him. The one like a son of man received dominion, glory, and kingship. All peoples, nations, and languages serve him. His dominion is everlasting dominion that shall not be taken away. His kingship shall not be destroyed. Reading number 2, second, it says PT. I forgot what that stands for, but chapter 1, 16 through 19. Beloved, we did not follow cleverly devised myths when we made known to you the power and coming of our Lord Jesus Christ. But when we had been our eyewitnesses of his majesty, for he received honor and glory from God the Father when that unique declaration came to him from the majestic glory. That is my Son, my beloved, with whom I am well pleased. We ourselves heard this voice come from heaven while we were with him on the holy mountain. Moreover, we possess the prophetic message that is altogether reliable. You will do well to be attentive to it, as a lamp shining in a dark place until day dawns and the morning star rises in your hearts. Gospel, Matthew chapter 17, 1 through 9. Jesus took Peter, James, and his brother John and led them, and this is a transfiguration of the Lord. So Jesus took Peter, James, and his brother John and led them up a high mountain by themselves, and he was transfigured before them. His face shone like the sun, and his clothes became white as light. And behold, Moses and Elijah appeared to them, conversing with him. Then Peter said to Jesus in reply, Lord, it is good that we are here. If you wish, I will make 3 tents here, one for you, one for Moses and one for Elijah. While he was still speaking, behold, a bright cloud cast a shadow over them. Then from the cloud came a voice that said, "This is my beloved Son, and with whom I am pleased. Listen to him." When the disciples heard this, they fell prostrate and were very much afraid. But Jesus came and touched them, saying, "Rise, and do not be afraid." And when the disciples raised their eyes, they saw no one else but Jesus alone. As they were coming down from the mountain, Jesus charged them, "Do not tell the vision to anyone until the Son of Man has been raised from the dead." Wow. Interesting. I wonder if this was after Christ died. I think so. Wow. Beautiful. So, that is it for today's show. Hope you guys have a good day today. It is, again, Thursday. We have this thing where we eat throughout the week at home. And like maybe a Friday and especially Sunday, we eat out. So I'm excited. Tomorrow's almost here. And Friday's almost here. And I'm excited about getting Domino's or something fun. So, or trying something different here in town. So hope you guys have a great day. Hope you like this setup. I think I tested it. It sounded pretty cool. Like I'm right there in your wherever you're at. So let's see if it works. God bless. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and let's get the day started.